I'm very jealous of people who could make their own costumes. I feel like I really want to
Oh,
how to sew or do something, but I definitely think like going and seeing all the creative homemade costumes is cool. I wish I could do that. I was trying to sew like the little cat beanie, but I was like, I actually don't know how to do how to do this. So it's not happening.
I'm thinking about going to the Cal game. I'm not sure yet, but if it works out, I feel like it'd be fun since the last time we're playing them.
No, that game should be super fun. I know a lot of people that are heading up to Berkeley for the weekend, so if you go, have a great time. If not, also have a great time. Connor in the chat said, I'm gonna be a fidget spinner for the third time in a row. That is dedication.
oh, that is impressive. Yeah.
Okay, a little throwback, yeah.
That's not even like that's just like that's like a tradition at that point.
It really is, yeah.
You're good to go.
Are we good to go? Should we get started?
Yep.
All right. Let's get this live chat started. First things first, we want to welcome each of you once again.
student run 嘅，呢個 student 即係
Sorry about that. So I would like to welcome each of you once again to the Meet the Majors live chat, brought to you by us, real life engineering students who were once in your shoes not too long ago. Before we move on, I do want to thank the panelists for taking the time out of their Sunday to join us. Do we want to show the slides presentation? Okay. Sorry, guys, just give us 1 second. All right. Great. So our agenda for the next hour, we'll be kicking it off by introducing our panelists for the evening, all of whom who are current engineering students. Then we'll be answering some questions that you will all submit through the webinar Q&A feature, though I will ask that you hold on submitting your questions until we get to the Q&A portion. It's probably obvious given the title, but today we'll be discussing all the different majors here at Viterbi. Any question about the student experience at USC in engineering or college in general is fair game. If you're viewing the live chat recording at a different date, don't worry. You can still email us questions at vstudent@usc.edu. We may not get to all the questions during the session, but if you email us, one of us will follow up with a response. For now, hold off on submitting questions through the Q&A. As a reminder, we're just students. We're here to help share the student perspective of Viterbi and cannot answer the majority of admissions-related questions. Please direct those to our admissions staff at viterbi.admission@usc.edu. At the end of the session, we'll spend a few minutes going over how to get in touch with the Viterbi admission office, how to stay in touch with us, as well as sharing some resources that may be useful as you navigate the college application process. Now, without further ado, let's introduce ourselves. And I'll start first. My name is Mateo Sabiopesi. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm your host for tonight's live chat. I'm a junior studying biomedical engineering with an electrical emphasis from Menlo Park, California. Some of my involvements on campus are that I'm a residential assistant for USC Housing in the Village. I'm also part of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, where I serve as the Director of Community Outreach. I also research here on campus at the USC Institute for Technology and Medical Systems Innovation, and I am a Latino Alumni Association Scholar. So now we will introduce the panelists.
Hi, everyone. My name is Grace Sampson. I'm a current senior here at the university studying mechanical engineering. I'm from a very small town in the Midwest, Bluegrass, Iowa, population of about 200 people, so a lot different than Los Angeles. And some of my involvements on campus include being the powertrain lead for the Formula SAE electric team. So I handle everything in regard to the battery, so all of the electrical wiring, the high voltage components, water jetting, welding of the battery, and putting things together. I've also been a part of the Society of Women Engineers at USC, leading community outreach, so doing activities for students from kindergarten through 12th grade. I'm also a teaching assistant for one of the junior level mechanical engineering classes on campus called Mech Optronics. It's like a mix of mechanics, optics, and electronics. And then I'm also on the USC ski and snowboard team in my free time.
Hi, everyone. I am Asna. I'm also a senior here at USC. I'm studying biomedical engineering, and I'm from Chino Hills, California, which is just about 45 minutes east of USC. But on campus, I'm involved in a few things, the first of which was Los Angeles Community Impact, which is pro bono consulting. So we work with nonprofits in the area and nationally to help them maximize their social impact. I was also on the leadership for Blueprints for Pangea, which is a club that essentially seeks to redirect excess medical supplies from SoCal all the way across the world. Mobile Clinic works in Skid Row, so locally with homeless shelters for medical screenings, research, as well as Muslim Student Union and the Institute on Inequalities in Global Health.
Hi everyone, I'm Sydney. I go by she, her, and I'm a senior studying chemical engineering, originally from San Francisco. On campus, I'm involved in a club called Society of Cosmetic Chemists, where we teach other students about cosmetic chemistry. I also really like to write, so I blog for Trojans 360, which is a platform that discusses student life and health. And I also used to write for Daily Trojan, which is a USC student-run newspaper. In addition, in the past, I have done research in the Armani lab, where I was under a PhD student and synthesized nanoparticles. And I'm also involved in Greek life.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria. I go by she, her. I'm currently a sophomore studying electrical and computer engineering. I'm from Tustin, California, which is not too far from USC, about a 45-minute drive. And some of my current involvements include being a directed researcher under the Wireless Devices and Systems group at USC, where I essentially configure and analyze ray tracer modeling for wireless communications. And I help PhD and postdoc students run simulations for their projects and ongoing papers. I'm also a new member educator this semester for Theta Tau, which is USC's premier co-ed engineering society. And lastly, I'm also a member of the Trojan Club tennis team.
Hi, my name is Safia Patel. I'm a junior studying computer science. I'm originally from Fullerton, California. Some of my involvements include Makers, which is an engineering club here on campus where we have a semester-long project. And it's funded by the electrical department. And this year I'm working on a project called Train Tango, which is a virtual reality version of Subway Surfers. I'm also in Theta. I'm the secretary and new member educator. And I'm also marketing director for the Muslim Student Union.
All right, those were our lovely panelists. And finally, these are our moderators who will be behind the scenes responding to some of the Q&A questions that don't get answered live.
Hi guys, I'm Kaylee. I'm a junior studying astronautical engineering.
And hello, I'm Victoria, a senior studying mechanical engineering.
Okay, thank you guys for sitting through the introductions. And now it's time to submit your questions. If you're on the webinar, we encourage you to submit your questions now through the Q&A feature below, not through the chat, through the Q&A feature. And if you're viewing the recording, you can email us your questions to vstudent@usc.edu for answers at a later date. All right, so we're gonna let questions pour in, but in the meantime, I'm curious, my panelists, are you involved in any design teams or other engineering projects? And do you want to talk about them a little bit more?
Sorry. I'm on a project, like I mentioned during my introduction, that's called Train Tango. And it's basically virtual reality of Subway Surfers. So we're creating a headset and we're also putting sensors on the body of the user so that tracks their motion. So you actually have to like run and move as if you were running on the trains. And I'm on the, because in computer science, I'm more on the game development side of that.
As I kind of mentioned in my introduction, I spent a lot of time with the formula team here on campus. So, one of my biggest projects right now is building out the packaging for our battery cells. So, we have 5 cells in parallel, makes up a module. Then we have 96 modules in series, makes up our battery. Everything has to be insulated, of course, that we don't get any arc flashing, which we actually had an arc flashing incident last week. So, we had to put some batteries in water to cool them down. So, it's really fun. You learn a lot of different skills. I've done a lot of TIG welding on the team, water jetting, laser cutting, 3D printing. We actually use a material called Ultim 1010 that we 3D print in for its heat properties when we're building the segment containers for our batteries, just in case they end up overheating, they won't melt through the container. So that's been really fun. I'm also a senior, so I'm working on my senior design project, and I'm doing an aero-based project surrounding the Bugatti Bolide. So if you guys have seen that performance vehicle, one of its features is these dimples that protrude from the air scoop at a certain velocity to help the car be more aerodynamic. So we're looking at the effects of dimples on commercial vehicles at lower Reynolds numbers, so at lower speeds. So that's been a really fun project. And it's cool to see how vortex generators like dimples on a golf ball can be applied to moving vehicles, both aircraft and cars.
All right, so really quick, actually, there is no Q&A feature. My mistake. I think now we only have chat. So if you guys want to ask your questions, please send them through the chat and we will go through them. All right.
Hey, just another update. Send the messages to either me or Victoria, so either of the moderators, and then we'll determine what questions get asked by sending them then to our host, Mateo. So that's just how it's going to work this time.
Okay. All right, I guess for now, I don't see any questions. So I'm gonna ask another question. What do you guys like to do in your free time at USC?
I think being located in like such a like big city, I think there's a lot of things that you can do in your free time at USC. Um, I personally really like going out and exploring different restaurants and cafes. I think that's always fun, especially with friends. But I also think USC itself does a really good job of creating events or activities for students to do that are like not at all related to school or your major or anything. So I also like attending those.
Yeah, to add on, I mean, I really like to explore like the surrounding like cities and like the nearest beaches. There's also metro right near campus, so you can just hop on and then go to like Culver City or go to Santa Monica and go to the beach. And then there's also like a few hiking points. They're a little far away, but they're really fun to explore. And you're again in LA, so there's a bunch of stuff to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like LA is pretty well situated in SoCal. Like if you go pretty east, you will find Joshua Tree. I think a lot of people enjoy going to Joshua Tree for a day trip, or if you're going west towards the beaches. I know a lot of people have taken up things like surfing. We do have a surfing class that a lot of people use as kind of like an introduction, and taking advantage of the coast. I personally got into paddleboarding this semester, so it's my senior year, so it's a little bit late to kind of be taking advantage of USC, but I think the really cool thing is that it's never too late to try new things at USC, especially because you are in such a great location. So I've taken up paddleboarding. A lot of people also, again, like enjoy coffee shops. I know Culver City also has a climbing gym, so if you're into rock climbing, that's also a great spot to start or continue.
All right, nice to hear some lovely weekend activities and also weekday activities. I love to go on walks at night. We have a nice campus that's pretty secure, and I just love to go on walks with my friends or by myself, listen to some music. Also, guys, by the way, so you guys have a wonderful opportunity of being in breakout rooms at the end of this Q&A, and the breakout rooms are going to be with specific majors. So if you guys want to ask major specific questions, we ask that you hold those until we get to the breakout rooms, just so we can get those questions for you and all other students in the breakout room. For now, we would love to hear some of your general questions that can be answered by all of us. So another question I have from the chat is, what is USC Makers and how can you get involved, etc.?
Yeah, USC Makers is a club funded by the electrical engineering department at USC. So there's about 10 project managers a semester, and each of them come up with a really cool idea. In the past, we've had like a soccer robot, and we've had another one last semester that was called Waterbender, where you could like put in an image and it would output it with like streams of water, which was really cool in my opinion. Applications for that always open at the beginning of the semester. We recruit in fall and spring. It's not really a hard recruitment process. There's an application that you have to write, and then you'll hear back about an interview. And then after that, you get to join the club. I feel like that's how most clubs at USC's campus usually work, especially for Viterbi. And Makers is really just looking for you to be passionate about creating something and learning. We obviously know you're not gonna have the skills. I definitely didn't have the skills when I first joined. And I think they just saw that I was really passionate about creating an innovative project. And as long as you show that passion in your interview, you'll be fine.
All right, thank you, Safia, for a great explanation of Makers. Our next question is, what led you to choosing your specific major at USC?
I can go ahead and start us off on this one. So I personally came into college as a pre-medical student. And so something that I knew was that I really enjoyed physics and math. And I also wanted something that was more application based. And so biomedical engineering seemed like the route to go, but also because I think that part of like why I wanted to do medicine is to help increase access to medicine. And so biomedical engineering, there was one particular lab at USC that really caught my eye. And it was a lab that I'm currently in and have been in for the past 3 years, which is developing medical devices that are super low cost and affordable, because the more affordable, the more accessible. And so I kind of had done some online research about kind of the labs that I was interested in, kind of backtracked from there about the major or the discipline that I would be interested in. But at different schools, I actually applied different majors. So this was kind of USC specific for me.
Yeah, for me, I kind of always knew I wanted to do something engineering related, but I had no idea what kind of engineering. I think when I was applying to schools, I kind of wanted to see if I could go into an engineering that was like tech related, but not necessarily computer science. And so I just kind of stumbled upon electrical engineering. And I just thought, I would apply, see if I liked it. And another cool thing about USC, which I think is why I also ended up picking the school, was that I was told that if I was accepted into Viterbi as one major, I was accepted into Viterbi as all engineering majors. And because I didn't necessarily know if electrical engineering was going to be the right path for me, that was kind of like a comforting thought that I could, fall back on. Like there would be other options. I would be able to move out of it. And electrical engineering did end up working out for me. I do really like the classes and the different labs that we get to do. But yeah, that's just something that always kind of stuck with me once I was admitted into Viterbi.
Yeah, to go off of that, so I came into USC as a civil engineering major, but then I switched to chemical engineering. So like Victoria said, it's once you're like admitted into Viterbi, you're admitted to like all the Viterbi majors. So the transfer process is pretty simple. You just kind of like fill out a form, talk to your advisor, and then get it signed off. So I think that's one of the main reasons why I chose USC versus like a different school, because of the flexibility. And then just also like the amount of opportunities. And then once I changed into chemical engineering, I really liked like the people in it and stuff like that. And I knew back in high school that I like kind of liked math and kind of like chemistry, so I just kind of put the two together.
All right, great. We have another question from Patrick. How is balancing a social life with a rigorous course load at Viterbi? Do you feel as if you have more or less free time than your peers in other USC schools?
I can start with this one. I feel like engineering is definitely challenging. I have also been in majors outside of engineering. I also started pre-med and then I switched into Viterbi. And I can say in my experience, the coursework in Viterbi is a little bit more demanding than what I had my freshman year. So I have had less time, but there's definitely balance and you definitely have time for free time. Like I said, I'm on the USC ski and snowboard team. So on weekends, usually I'll go up to Mammoth and ski, and it's a really great outlet for me. I know a lot of other engineers are in other outdoorsy activities to balance with their engineering work, like peaks with professors. So they go on hikes with some of the USC faculty members. That's a really good one. So I definitely think you need to prioritize yourself, both your mental and physical health, while you're at university. If you want to, you could definitely spend the entire duration of your time on your engineering coursework, but that might not yield the best outcome for you mentally, physically, or even academically. When you're applying to graduate programs, jobs, post-bac programs, whatever you end up doing, they look for the experiences outside of the classroom and kind of how you are a human external from engineering. I think I've always talked about being on the ski team in all of my job interviews and all of my internships, and it's something that they really appreciate. So just make sure you're prioritizing yourself, and you definitely have time for it. It's challenging at times, but you can make that balance work.
Also, I think when I first joined or when I first got to USC, the way that I found balance was kind of combining my academics with my social life. A lot of my friends just happened to be people in my classes, and we would go on study dates together. We would go to coffee shops around LA. So we still got to do those fun things where you're exploring LA and trying new things, but we were also prioritizing our academics at the end of the day. Um, Also, a lot of the peers you meet through your clubs naturally become your friends because you're spending so much time with them and you're gonna have fun working with them on something you're passionate about. So if you find a cross between social life and academics and extracurriculars, I feel like that would be the easiest way to manage it.
Okay, it's great to hear about the work-life balance at USC. We had a lot of people had a lot of fun this weekend at the USC football game. So we really do like that balance, and that's the USC tradition. So yeah. One of our questions from Michael is, to what extent is the work for engineering classes hands-on and in group projects?
I think there's a pretty good balance between like group work and then like individual work. Like classes, especially like major related, I feel like there's always like homework that's being assigned, and like that is usually like you can do it individually or like in groups, like with like study groups, and like that can be kind of interactive, but also like in terms of more hand or like um like the other alternative would be like labs in classes. Like most of my labs right or most of my classes right now include labs, and like typically you'll be allowed to work with a partner, and it's very like hands-on work that like you get a designated time, you get the resources you need to make whatever project it is you're making in that lab, and you get to go and work with other students, work with teaching assistants or students who have already taken the class or the professor themselves. So there's like a lot of work that goes into a class, and some of it is very hands-on, very like in person, but other stuff can also be more individual on your own.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. That's around kind of like 50-50. It definitely depends on the class. I remember, I think it was Engineering Academy, which is a class that freshmen have to take. You kind of get an introduction to like what Viterbi is and like just what engineering is. And then you also do a like group project together, and that's kind of like your introduction into like collaboration and how like Viterbi works and stuff. But there are like individual assignments as well, but then sometimes there's professors are going to assign group projects, so it just depends.
All right, it's great to hear about the hands-on and group projects here at USC. I remember my first year, I built a heart rate monitor in my BME class, and that was a really great introduction to a lot of the projects that we do in BME classes. All right, so our last question of the evening is going to be answered by all of you. Why USC?
USC for me was always kind of a dream school. It was actually the first college I ever visited. And like from the beginning, I was really taken aback. I thought the school spirit shown by so many of the students that were attending was crazy. Like seeing all the merchandise and like people getting ready to go to football games or like just sporting activities. Like I thought it was just such a different environment from the high school that I was at. But then once I started looking into USC and like seeing how it would actually relate to the major I wanted to pursue or like the career I wanted to follow, I really was interested in the fact that there was a lot of undergraduate, or there are a lot of undergraduate research opportunities. I thought that that was different from any of the other schools that I was looking at. And I thought that that would be a great way for me to gain some more experience without necessarily having all of the qualifications yet. So I just thought overall it was a very well-rounded school, and I could really see myself going there for the next 4 years, and being able to grow as an engineer, but also still keep my, healthy work-life social balance. So yeah, that's why I picked USC.
I can go next. I think I chose USC simply because I really wanted an interdisciplinary education. So I'm biomedical engineering in pre-med, but I also really wanted to do a minor outside of the sciences. So I currently have a minor in history. And I think that USC is a great place to kind of pursue interdisciplinary education more so than the vibes that I got from other universities.
Piggyback. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. This kind of piggybacks off of Esna's answer. I also kind of chose it for the interdisciplinary studies, but more so in the way that you can experiment with classes outside of your major in general. You can kind of sign up for whatever you want. Like right now, I'm in a dance class. It's probably my most fun class this semester. So there's always an opportunity to explore studies outside of your set major if you want to take that opportunity.
Yeah, for me, I was debating between East Coast and West Coast, and I honestly had no idea like what USC was about, and I never visited campus. But then after diving more deep into like the curriculum, the amount of opportunities, the amount of clubs, and the alumni network, and like just basically the flexibility to do things outside of your major is kind of what drew me to USC. It's also a pretty social and like friendly school, so it was a great chance, especially in LA, to meet new people and be exposed to different things.
I think I'm kind of a can of worms. When I started looking for colleges, I really didn't know what I wanted or where I wanted to go. My parents didn't go to college. I had no experience with the process, and I was really, really lost. I applied pre-med just because I thought maybe that'd be something that I was interested in. I really like science in high school, and I just cast my stones everywhere. I applied to a bunch of colleges, too many. I wouldn't recommend doing what I did. It was really, really stressful and took a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of emotional drainage. But I was admitted to USC, and I'm not gonna lie, Will Ferrell is one of USC's alumni, and I've always really liked all of his movies. So it's like, well, maybe I'll go there. And luckily I had the opportunity to visit USC when I was visiting a family member, I think my sophomore, junior year in high school. And I really liked the campus. And something that was really emphasized to me while on campus was the flexibility and being able to jump around. And if you were interested in other majors, you could try that out. And as someone that really didn't have any sense of direction going into college, it was really comforting to know that the university would be here to support me as I explored my other choices. So I felt it when I got on campus here, and I knew that that'd be a place I'd be really happy. And when you visit other schools, you'll find that maybe you can't transfer into the engineering program. So like myself and the other panelists that have transferred from pre-med or other majors into engineering, that can be really, really difficult because then you're stuck in a program that maybe you find you're not very interested in anymore. So really the flexibility was the main reason for me. And then of course, because I love Will Ferrell and all of his movies.
All right. It's nice to hear why everyone chose to come to USC. For me, it was the school colors, cardinal and gold. No, I'm kidding. Many reasons, a lot similar to you guys, but yeah. So that was our final question. We hope you enjoyed the live chat tonight and gained some insight on what it's like to be an engineering student here at USC. If you missed any questions or any part of the chat, you can rewatch the whole thing on our YouTube channel. Though it sounds like I'm closing out, don't hop off yet. We're about to go into breakout rooms. But first, we're going to show some information for you guys about Viterbi. From the admissions office, we'd love for you to stay connected, and a way to connect with the Viterbi admissions office is through an info session. This is a great opportunity to learn about the application process. If you're interested, you can register at viterbiadmission.usc.edu/visit. This is a good time to take a picture of the screen so you can have this information for later. Give you all a second to do so. All right. We also want to take a moment to shout out some of our amazing resources for students. You can see their websites right here on the screen so you can connect with them and see what they're up to. As a quick reminder, the EA early action deadline is November 1st. If you're super interested in attending USC, consider applying for early action. You'll be considered for merit scholarships and be notified of your acceptance status sooner. Lastly, stay connected with us Viterbi students. We would love for you to follow us on our social media accounts. We have an Instagram, Twitter, and a newly made TikTok account. We also have podcasts on SoundCloud and other streaming platforms, and videos on YouTube. If you want to learn more about what life is like as an engineering student at USC or have more questions for us, make sure you email vstudent@usc.edu. Thank you again for tuning in tonight. Good luck on your college apps, stay safe, and as always, fight on.